Modernization and progress has had its share of disadvantages, and one of the main aspects of concern is the pollution it is causing the earth, be it land, air, and water. With increase in the global population and the rising demand for food and other essentials, there has been a rise in the amount of waste being generated daily by each household. However, either due to resource crunch or inefficient infrastructure, not all of this waste gets collected and transported to the final dump sites. If at this stage the management and disposal is improperly done, it can cause serious impact on health and problems to the surrounding environment. Since the 1970s, major changes in waste disposal have taken place around the planet. Recycling has become a regular component of garbage pickup, even mandatory in some places. Many endangered plant and animal species are at risk of extinction due to improper waste disposal. Waste that is not properly managed, especially excreta and other liquid and solid waste from households and the community, pose a serious health hazard and lead to the spread of infectious diseases. Unattended waste lying around attracts flies, rats, and other creatures that in turn spread disease. Normally, it is the wet waste that decomposes and releases a bad odor. This leads to unhygienic conditions and thereby to a rise in the health problems. Diseases such as dengue fever, prevalent in developing nations, are believed to be perpetrated by unsanitary waste disposal methods. Higher prevalence of reproductive disorders, including low birth weight, are common in areas located near existing and former landfills. So, where do we go from here? We can keep ignoring the problem of improper waste disposal and continue filling the earth and air with toxic waste, or we can begin to address the problem individually. Each of us can make better choices with the items we purchase to reduce our waste. Things such as disposable baby diapers take many lifetimes to decompose. Instead of opting for plastic, we can choose cloth diapers that are not only better for our children but best for the planet. We can also choose items that are sold in as little packaging as possible, opting for fresh fruits and vegetables. Composting organic matter is another way to reduce waste. Many municipalities now offer composting facilities, making it easier than ever. The numbers are staggering. An estimated 6 million people worldwide contract a foodborne illness each year. It is not just the person infected with the illness that suffers. Everyone around that person stands a chance of risking his or her life. You too can reduce this risk. Stop throwing waste in the wrong places. Save your health and save our future.
Just joining us in the studio is a musical artist, winner of Glow Niger Sings 2010. Please welcome Kessy Head. Thank you, Kessy. Thanks for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here.
Kessy, while growing up, did improper waste disposal affect your health and living standard?
Well, personally, in my home, it didn't, because my parents brought us up with, they taught us about personal hygiene and, you know, keeping our immediate surrounding and environment clean. But, you I schooled in the north, Kaduna Zaria, and I remember certain times when my dad won't come to take us from school, so we have to walk home. It's not really far. But there was this particular junction, road, like a T-square, where the road meets. There was this, the picture's still in my head. It's like a waste dump. You see all sort of things, and there used to be this madman that used to always be there. You see dead chicken, you see empty cans of this, you see granite peels, all closed, every sort of waste at that junction there. Then in Kaduna back then, I remember that there used to be a lot of these beggars on the road. Then in the gutters you have waste, and then stagnant water, unnecessary. So yes, I saw that around me, and that was because it wasn't, somehow I think the people were not educated, or they were not informed enough to know that it wasn't just about keeping your home clean, because those things, yes, also your environment, those things there were put by children closing from school, like us, and then also adults. When you buy granola, you're just eating and you're throwing it on the way. When you just through the window, or because it starts with somebody puts something there at a spot, another person comes to put, it gets bigger. Everybody thinks, okay, well, it's all right to put it, and then you start putting it, and then nobody does anything about it to take it out of there. So, yeah, then boarding house, and sometime in Delta State Sapele. I know I used to see a lot of waste, and yes, it affected me because, you know, most of the times.
So it affected you personally at some point in time?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good sight to see, and then it wasn't cool passing that area, you know.
Seeing dirt litter
yes,
everywhere.
see dirt litter everywhere, and of course, because it was there, you know, all sort of things there. It decomposes naturally. Rain falls on it, sun shines on it, and stuff, and the food and everything. And
But going by your experience,
yes.
how would you want to encourage, especially the young adults, how to actually keep a very good personal hygiene?
First of all, I would say start from the home.
Okay.
Yes, the parents have a responsibility to teach the children to be neat and be clean.
Okay.
To live healthy. They may not be able to know about Panadol and Tetra, all those stuff, but they can know that when I come back from school, I wash my hand, or when I go to the toilet, I come back, I wash my hand, or before I eat, I wash whatever it is. You know, that kind of habit, or this is where you put this thing when you finish using it, you throw it here.
Properly dispose
yes,
of it.
all that kind of stuff. You know, you could start from the age when they are accountable. I mean, as early as possible, because that now translates into the environment. Then in the school, we should also imbibe that in our curriculum. Have litter bins at certain areas in the school, even in the environment, have litter bins, you know. Then, of course, the government doing, making adverts about, you know, how to keep the environment clean and all that. But yes, it starts from the home. That's where I would say, you know, so the young adults, because they are first children, before they become young adults, then they become parents, you know, so it's a process. It's a, you know.
Thank you very much, Casey.
Thank you.
We'll go on a commercial break, and when we come back, Mrs. Abimbola will be joining us back in the studio. Thank you. Welcome back, Mrs. Abimbola. We have lots of questions for you. Any question in the house? Okay, let's have a question, please.
I want to refer my question to the doctor. Please, state the ways of controlling disease vector in our environment. And is there any assistance that the state government should render to eradicate these vectors in our environment?
All right.
Thank you
very much for your question. There are so many approaches to the eradication of these disease vectors.
Okay.
We can target where they normally grow. That's one point. For example, the mosquitoes, they grow within the stagnant water in our environment. And if this water is flowing, the mosquito larva, the egg of the mosquito will not be able to grow. So if we ensure that the drainages are flowing, it's a way of preventing them from developing to the adult stage. Now, if they eventually develop to the adult stage, there are ways of also controlling them. Like the popular long-lasting insecticide-treated nets, they will prevent them from biting. And then if they cannot transmit the parasite, they will die off naturally and there won't be any disease. But again, the vector can also be targeted because there are so many insecticides now that are approved to be used against the disease vectors, to kill the disease vector, the adult stage of the vector, so to prevent the disease from developing or multiplying rather, to bring more vectors. Apart from that, we have talked about the education, you know, the continuous mobilization of the people for them to be aware of how these vectors grow and how they can easily transmit diseases. So when we have public awareness campaigns and we also target their various growing or breeding sites, it's a multi-dimensional approach that will eventually bring down the quantity of the vectors and eventually bring down the rate of transmission of the disease.
Thank you very much. Let's answer your question. We have another question.
How can malaria be prevented?
Okay, thank you very much. The first level of prevention, which involves all of us, is for you to be aware of how malaria is being transmitted by the vector. So we are talking about health education for everybody, and Lagos is trying to health educate everybody about how malaria is being transmitted. The second point, which is still under the primary prevention or first level of prevention, is for you to be protected. We call it personal protection from the disease vector. Like we have talked earlier, we said the long-lasting insecticide-treated nets is a way of protecting you from the vector. Then you can also deal with the vector directly, prevent breeding of the vector. For the case of cholera, we will also get people aware of how cholera can affect people in an environment. For example, if there's flooding, we said earlier that you take care of your drainages so that even if there's flooding, there won't be contamination of water sources. So that's one. Two, in case we try to raise the awareness about the symptoms of cholera and what you see when somebody has cholera, so that if there is a case, a suspected case of cholera, we quickly take action. We have involved all the community groups in various groups in the community to let them know about symptoms of cholera and what can be done in case somebody is suspected to have cholera. And that's going to the health facility straight away for prompt treatment. So these are different levels of prevention. The first one we have talked about is health education, and the second one is personal protection. For cholera, personal hygiene, protection of water sources. These are ways of preventing cholera.
To add to what you said, the use of anti-malaria drugs, is it also encouraged?
Well, that's a different level of protection. When we are talking about second level of protection, or prevention rather, we are talking about your own treatment now. We have prophylaxis for malaria is available in our health centers. Also for pregnant women, they receive prophylaxis to prevent them from having malaria. And we also have prompt treatment. If you take care of yourself early enough, it's all about our attitude. We have to change your attitude. If you notice symptoms, you go to the health facility straight away and you get treated. So prompt treatment is also a way of preventing complications. So these are levels of prevention that affect us, and we need to be aware so that we take necessary action.
Thank you very much. Well answered. Thank you. A last question.
My name is Agubiade Tolulokpe. I have two questions, and the first one goes to the doctor. How can we help those that work with the waste workers, like those that work with Loma in helping us eradicate our waste? Because I know they are prone to a lot of diseases in the long run. They will surely have one disease or the other because they are very exposed to this waste, pollution, everything. So I want to ask, how can we help them to prevent them having these diseases we mentioned in the long run?
Well, thank you very much. A way of helping them is for us to have regular checkups for them. That's one. For us to let them know that when they have symptoms, certain symptoms, they should consult their doctor early enough so that we do not have complications. So we know they are exposed to certain microorganisms and bacteria. But then we try to also raise their awareness. And it's not one person that does the job all the time. They have shifts and there are different levels of exposure. So it's not all the time they get exposed. And we try to protect them to ensure that we have enough personnel so that they don't have prolonged exposure to the microorganisms. But as a matter of fact, we have screening. We have screening facilities for them. So it's not a problem really. If they are exposed or if they get complications, they can easily be treated in any of our facilities. But we must raise their awareness to let them seek for health care.
As the director of Loma, we want Mommy to really talk more on that. Is that really happening to your staffs?
Thank you very much. From the operator, who is the driver, to the waste handler, who are the laborers, we have budgetary provision every year for provision of personal protective equipment. They have their nose mask, they have their hand gloves, and their overall. And they also have safety boots because they could step on something that could be injurious to their health. Not only that, we also have in Loma medical facilities and medical centers headed by medical doctors under the purview of the state government in order to make sure that, because our workers are assets, so we make sure that we protect them, we screen them regularly, we also immunize them. There's special immunization for them to protect them from these ills. We have hepatitis infection that could be very common, so immunize them against that. And regularly, as human beings, they have one ache here or the other, which we have prompt medical attention. We're working in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, and that is why we are here on their program, because in the state is a family. There's a synergy with all the ministries, even when it has to do with public health issues. Everybody has a stake, and that is where we are collaborating together. We are not there yet, we've said, but we shall continue to improve. We shall evolve. Even the local governments are part of it, and together, even the CDAs in our communities are part of those stakeholders that have a great role to play in ensuring that everybody lives long. And one point, school of thought said that once all the waste in Lagos is removed, when there's no waste in the wrong place, malaria will no longer exist, cholera will be eradicated, and everybody will live healthy. Do you agree with that school of thought?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The second question is, some people, or let me say some people in some areas are not enjoying Loma due to the fee, because in some areas that are not well developed in Lagos State, they might say the fee is too much for them to pay, and they burn their waste, or they just throw the waste in the flood, and they litter the environment. What can the government do to prevent them or to save them?
I think first and foremost, the government has the responsibility to educate its people. And that is why we have said earlier on, we have different levels of advocacy. So the Community Development Association are the key factor there. Once they know the impact of burning of waste,